derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The information shared here is for educational purposes only and is not a recommendation to trade.
Good morning, good morning. Thanks for joining me. It is Monday, the 8th of December, 2025. It's 8:01 a.m. Chicago time. This is episode number 2721. Just a quick mic check, if you would help me out. I am traveling. I'm on my laptop and with a Bluetooth headset as opposed to the fancy mic at the office, so a quick mic check would be great. Let's jump right in to the markets here with our convergent trading pre-market summary sheet. The market's mixed to just tingy pushing higher. Crude has got a bit of volatility going for it this morning. Crude is has dropped since the European Open and has made a comeback, and has come back a little bit. It managed to open in range, but crude has broken its one-time framing up. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. Other than that, the indices still way off on the relative range and relative volume. Let me clear my throat. Yeah, again, RN, RVol pretty low still over the versus the average over the last 20 sessions, and that's just been the case lately. We do have a fair bit of movement in the overnight session. I mean, even crude is, with the volatility that it's seen, is at 100% on range, 91% on volume. So it's telling you that those averages are very high and are compressing currently, given the volatility that we've had here in November. So that's it. Looks like risk allocation is pretty strong in the small caps. The Russell's up 17.3 points, 0.69%. The Eurostoxx 50 unchanged. The DAX just slightly up. Crude off 1.35%. This is kind of unexpected in crude. Crude had left us with some single prints and stuff and was very orderly in holding the channel up so far, and it's kind of breaking down a little bit. We've normally seen some pretty good action on silver and copper, but today, quite those numbers, by the way, the RVol RN for silver and copper are not correct. Again, I'm on my laptop and there's something going on with the data there, so don't pay attention to that. We're seeing Bitcoin and ETH pushing higher again. Again, the RVol RN are not correct for the commodities, and that's just something I have to deal with. So far the profile is somewhat balanced in the overnight session. It's got a thinner tail at the bottom than it does at the top. We do have almost a double top in the S&P, so we're going to rate it as balanced because it's got a fat middle. The point of control at 68, 88, 75, 21 points of range, and 105 or 106,000 contracts currently. It's relatively in line. I mean, it's right in the middle of our distribution for range, and it's just below, a little thin on volume. That's the S&P for you. I'm not going to go through the news. However, I need to highlight what's important this week real quick because it is Monday. Today, we're going to get the NAB Business Confidence out of Australia, the RBA rate decision tonight at 9:30 Eastern, or let me just make sure. Actually, that's Central, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we get the JOLTS job openings. And remember, this administration is not releasing non-farm payrolls. It's not releasing CPI, which is supposed to be the same day as the FOMC Wednesday. And it's not releasing GDP as far as I've last read. So it's a mystery. I'm not sure, my opinion of this, and what's most likely is that the FOMC, the committee, the Fed committee itself, is going to get those numbers. They're just not publishing them for some undisclosed reason. But those numbers are going to be very important for the Fed rate decision. But it leaves all these analysts and program managers and fund managers with a bit of a guessing game. Whenever there's a guessing game, risk tends to become more important, and so the move to the downside becomes more exaggerated, right? Because you have to cover your risk first. That's your fiduciary duty as a fund manager. So we're going to get JOLTS tomorrow, expecting 7.2 million. And then inflation out of China as well tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we get the Bank of Canada rate decision. We get the FOMC rate decision, the press conference. Thursday, it says we're going to get PPI, but the time is not set. So PPI may be up for grabs as well by this administration, as in not releasing it. And then Friday, we get GDP out of Great Britain. So that's what's on deck for the week. I'll let you read the rest of what's on the sheet because you can read by going to one of the links in the light gray box in the middle bottom of the page there. You want to go to x.com/conv trading to see a copy of the sheet and get the summary of what's important for today. And of course, if you're a Convergent member, you've got it in the market briefing channel. Let's dig into what we talked about on Friday. So let's hold ourselves accountable a little bit here. This is Friday's Trader Bite. Friday's Trader Bite, we had news out of France. Let me just, let's see. I don't have an enlarged version of this, so let's do that here. Up. Unlock the screen and shift it open. There you go. So this is Friday's Trader Bite, and you'll notice here that after the French news that the French were shooting down a drone over some sensitive nuclear submarine installation somewhere, the market had a very strong flash down, as you see there, and because of that, my view is that unless it gets back and takes the SOC in the 68, I guess in the 6880 area, 6875 area, then it's very likely to be choppy. Pullbacks are likely to be sold, right? So we want to see what happens at the open. And if the open sees weakness and continuation to the downside to continue the impulse, then I'm going to be looking for scenario 1, which is balanced, scenario 2, which is selling. Here's what actually happened. We had our Trader Bite right in here. Hang on. Let's lock this in. We had our Trader Bite right in here, and we opened and immediately pushed higher. So we opened right here. This is the opening bar. We opened, we had a very small attempt lower and shot right through that LIS that I colored in on Friday and pushed all the way through and up into 69.05 before selling off, coming into the LIS and holding steady. This morning, this LIS is still in play. The profile is balanced, as you see here. The LIS is just beneath us. We've poked through it a little bit, but held, and then we retested from above. The LIS has a bit of confluence with the full session mid, and so overall, The market looks like it wants to recover those higher prices from Friday, and we have the century figure at 6,900. So this morning, the anticipation that we are likely to come right back through, I don't know that that's going to happen on news, but I'm open for it. There was just no setup on this run up here. There was no setup, and I'm sure a lot of people tried to buy somewhere in this range here, and it was just a tough trade, I felt, on Friday. Once the move happened and it rolled over, it was really difficult to get on anything solid. So it turned into a bit of a scalper's market in this range here. And that's the range that we're basically in currently. So not much. It's pretty nondescript as far as the overnight session and what it's giving us for cues. Overall, we have to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we're holding one time framing up. You can see there are higher lows. So the waves are pushing towards the buy side. We do have the all-time high just above 69.50 something, and the market overall doesn't have bad news to price in. Now that could all change with the Fed on Wednesday. If the Fed does not cut by 25 basis points, the market's likely to have a reaction. It basically signals to the market that things are maybe slightly worse than what's been talked about by the administration. And so, that may get a reaction, but I believe it'll be short-lived because overall, the bulls are in control. The buyers are in control. This thing is not able to stay down no matter what happens. So that's where that is. So what are we looking at for today? For today, overall, we have a weaker high than we do a low. The low has a bit of an excess at the bottom. The expectation is as long as it holds above this continued LIS zone, my view is it's very likely to tackle the 6,900. So I'm looking for this to be a pretty grindy morning here, but very likely to make an attempt at that high and push into the 6,900. You have a pretty decent stock zone, which we targeted on Friday and got. You can see that they lifted into that stock zone into the 6,900, and the stock zone here with blue big prints, and still were not able to hold, which tells me that the offer was a passive. There was quite a bit of passive supply there that the market couldn't get through, and the market is likely to retest that passive supply before the next move. Okay, so that's the primary scenario for today. Again, we have the 6,900, 68.98 stock zone, and then we have above there 69.12 right up here. So it might push as far as there. The ranges have been okay within one standard deviation, but my expectations are not very high for clear movement. It is also that time of year. December is has a tilt towards the buy side, and it just the selling tends to be very timid. The secondary scenario is we push into the overnight high. We get our overnight stat. Settlement is below us. We're likely to get the overnight high, squeeze to the 6,900, then get an impulse down as the supply remains up here. We get an impulse down, and that sets up a failed retest and a short, which would then target settlement, and then it would target lower prices into Friday's base. So overall, those are the two scenarios. I'm not expecting this thing to run away. Really not expecting this to expand dramatically as we come into tomorrow's JOLTS and Wednesday's FOMC. I think participants are likely to be more cautious here. Okay, so that's that. Crude. So crude is the drop this morning. We're talking about this in the energies channel. The drop this morning started right at the European Open. It was holding steady. Crude was establishing one-time framing up, and it is holding a, a much bigger downwards trending channel, which it broke out of on Thursday, and it's holding steady on an upwards channel since then. So crude has been holding this channel pretty well. The key resistance in crude has been 60.50. Let me close this. 60.50, and you can see here it got right to it, 60.50 on the nose on Friday, and then sellers step back in. This morning, this drop, my view is despite the drop and then the ensuing news from Iraq that it's closing a field that's producing about 500 to 600,000 barrels per day, the market responded to the buy side immediately on that news. But as long as it holds this red zone, this LIS, then I am bearish on crude and I'm looking for it to push right down through the 5,900 and into the zone below there. If it lets go of the low of 58.81, things could get ugly for crude and we may see 56.50 again. But overall, crude's attempt higher has failed, and you could see that we have the DGPs here, the full session VWAP acting as barriers as well. And as long as it cannot get above this zone here, the 59.70, then really I'm favoring the short side in crude. That's my view on today. So any rallies are likely to be sold unless we clear this zone this morning, and I'm expecting it to push into the next zone down, which it kind of did here, poked. There's a fair bit of collision action going on here, so it's an embattled kind of area, but the crude overall, my expectation is to generate a profile that looks a whole lot like this or like that. I expect crude to just rest right in here, right in this range, right where we are. Looking for choppy action there, barring any new news. Okay. All right. It's been 18 minutes. I'm going to let you go. Thank you to those who commented back about how you're doing. I asked how you're doing in terms of making progress, improving your process, growing as a trader, and some of you have responded back with some details. It's pretty nice to see. I'm very interested in that, having always been in prop and always about risk and trader performance. It's nice to hear what everybody's going through. It seems like people are having a few sparks of knowledge or success, and that's nice to see. Always happy for you to comment on the videos and to provide some feedback and just some engagement. I try to respond where I can, but not always. I try to answer whatever questions you have. Don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to the channel. It's free. And set your alerts. Where's my? And set your alerts for when a video is being live cast or uploaded. Good luck. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. We'll be doing a Trader Bite every day this week, hopefully. I'll speak to you from Latin America tomorrow. Take care.